Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi my loves, it's CHANGE.TROYCE and you're watching Choice TV. So today's video I really wanted to get on here and I wanted to talk about black child stars that went fucking insane and crazy. Now we all see the obvious ones that obviously go crazy, lose their mind, do the most irrational things nowadays.
And it comes on ya. Legs this way, you go. And then because you say you like it.
Oftentimes when people think about child stars that went crazy, they think of things such as MK Ultra and mind control, and these kids were put under chips and then eventually they snapped and went crazy, which is a whole other video. I mean, Amanda Bynes even talked about this several years ago, back in 2013, when she had her big-ass meltdown. Amanda Bynes literally stated back in 2013, and I quote, basically stating that her dad did a lot of crazy things to her when she was a little girl. And on top of that, she ended up doubling back right after this Twitter rant, and she then tweeted, "My dad never did any of those things to me. The microchip in my brain made me say those things, but he's the one that ordered them to microchip me." But oftentimes, a lot of black child stars get casted away and we don't care about them. There's movements trying to support Britney Spears, Amanda Bynes, and many more people, but oftentimes there's not a lot of movements to support a lot of these black child stars who completely faded into obscurity and went downhill. And today I wanted to bring a lot of these black child stars to light that most of us forgot about, don't know about, or had no idea spiraled out of control and went crazy. Mental illness is oftentimes tossed aside and disregarded by people of color because it is oftentimes seen as a weakness or an excuse to not be productive in society. But sometimes it creates a stigma in many cultures to repress your feelings, but as we all know, when you repress and neglect your mental health, it can manifest into many other things. I mean, look at the YouTuber It's Bambi. It's Bambi was a very popular YouTuber who blew up as a very young trans woman on the internet, was a teenager, was at the height of her career, doing super well, got a ridiculous amount of views, and was really successful. And then to see her now is kind of fucking horrifying because come to find out, she's been abused, used. She even had a severe drug problem.
And I said sober life and all of this good stuff. And you guys was wondering like, what's going on? What was your problem? What was it? What was you on and all this type of stuff? I was on laced weed and didn't know it. Somebody that I loved in my family took me to a place, in a really weird place. And it was I got laced. Then it was like the whole time of it, the whole time a part of it, it was like so crazy. I was on this, I was addicted. It was so crazy. I became an alcoholic.
You know, and she was really popular, you know, got famous at the age of 16 years old, was really popping by the time she was 18 years old, was doing her damn thing in her early 20s. And then she got to a point where she just stopped posting content consistently and people would just be like, wait, what the hell? Then she got into a situation where she was in a toxic relationship that was public.
I know, bro. I know niggas is not on Instagram trying to clown me. Trying to clown me. Ah! Fuck you, Ricky! You cracking bitch! Don't say that fucking bitch ass nigga on my motherfucking line. That fucking bitch made ass nigga. Nigga, you know what the fuck you did to me. This nigga made my life a motherfucking live in hell. I live in hell. Look at me. Have y'all ever seen me like this? Little ass fucking dumb ass nigga. Broke as fuck. Bum crumb. You're a fucking crumb. Dumb ass nigga. But I'm gonna see you guys later. And I hope y'all remember, if you're not saying what the fuck are you saying. Bye guys.
And then, of course, the whole internet was dragging her because she was doing these weird storylines and she was dropping music, dissing her ex, and it was just ridiculous. And then she started recording her own mental breakdowns on camera, and it was like, what the hell?
Oh my God, this makes me so... This is so humiliating.
And then it all makes sense now that she said that she was probably under the influence. Now, Bambi never specifically said what drug she was on, but she made it abundantly clear that she was on something, but she still to this day will not say what.
Let's get into it. I got laced multiple times. Multiple times, you guys. A lot of you guys don't know about envious and jealous-hearted people. I've been with guys who would literally want me to stop taking my hormone pills and would want me to detransition, all because it was some secret motive, some sick motive to where they couldn't be trans and they wanted me not to be because they couldn't put on a dress and it's sick, it's sick, it's sick. Dated guys who would cut my hair, who cut my hair while I was sleeping.
And we even saw the public yet horrendous demise of the 90s actress and singer Maia Campbell. And even with the help of H0llyW00d trying to fix her life, she still sadly went down the wrong path. And oftentimes people can spot her walking around Los Angeles and completely acting irrational. Unfortunately, Maia Campbell was recently spotted in Atlanta, Georgia, begging people for change who recognized her.
I think I got $1 or $2 or something like that.
Thank you.
That'll be okay?
Yes, ma'am. I pray God for you.
Ain't you Maya, though?
I pray God for you. At the same time.
You say what?
I said I pray God for you.
You thank God for me?
Yes.
But aren't you the actress?
Then we have the sad story of the young man, DJ Daniels. And I'm sure most of y'all remember him as the young man who played Michael Hughley in 1998 on the H0llyW00d show. And he was so handsome, really adorable. He was at the height of his career, and everyone wanted a piece of him. He was in so many sitcoms. He probably was in almost every black sitcom back in the 90s and early 2000s. And, you know, you even saw him shows on like ER, and I remember I loved him in Sky High. And he stayed booked and busy. But sadly, DJ Daniels went down a really dark and evil path. This is him before, this is him in the mid-2000s, and this is literally him now.
Okay. And what was your upbringing like in Compton?
Pops moved me out quick, real quick. I was like 2, and he moved us to the IE, Rancho Cucamonga.
Okay. With the whole acting thing, you know, because you're a child actor, yeah. At what point did you feel like I'm going to take this seriously? And before you answer that, was it something that you wanted to do or something that your parents pushed you into?
No, it was the parents. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a little kid.
Yeah.
If y'all didn't know, DJ Daniels damn near almost did life in prison. Back in 2011, 23-year-old DJ at the time was locked up in Joaquin County Jail in Stockton, California. Allegedly, he was involved in the stabbing of J.J. Lewis, who was 26 years old at the time, during a fight that broke out in the Chavitas restaurant in Stockton, California. Police say that DJ Daniels was considered a known gang member along with 2 other men who attacked Lewis and others. Investigators say the brawl spilled out into the parking lot where Lewis was stabbed again. The wounds were fatal and another woman was also stabbed, but fortunately she did survive. Now, he did mostly get scrutiny because he was mostly affiliated and he was present during the Stockton stabbing. Now, mind you, 1 person was killed and a woman was horribly, viciously attacked with a knife. So who really knows if he was involved or not? But what we do know is he was fortunately acquitted. So yes, he was acquitted because he had a really good lawyer. On top of having a great lawyer, H0llyW00d plays a very big role on why he was able to get a little bit more sympathy. So H0llyW00d showed up in court and H0llyW00d essentially told the judge that even though he's blood affiliated, that it shouldn't determine his future. H0llyW00d was even in court and H0llyW00d even admitted that he himself used to be blood affiliated because H0llyW00d grew up in LA and he did some things in his past that he wasn't proud of. So he plays a very big role on why the judge and the jury gave this guy, DJ Daniels, a little bit more mercy. So realistically, due to lack of evidence and due to all the testimony and due to the fact that there was not enough evidence to get him down, he was fortunately acquitted in the year 2012 and he no longer had to face jail time. And it's sad because DJ done fucked his whole face up by getting all those damn tattoos, and he even got damn near blackballed in Hollywood because of his image, and he essentially chose the streets over what could have been a long-lasting legacy.
So what made you have that decision to start tattooing your face?
In my mind, I was done acting.
Oh, so you at one point you just said, I'm done.
By the time I wasn't doing my grades and stuff and I wasn't getting no more gigs, and even my agents was like, all right, we ain't messing with you. I had already put it in my head like, hey, I'm done with acting. I wasn't really getting the gigs that I wanted.
It's really sad because, again, DJ Daniels was doing really well. He didn't come from hood shit. He didn't come from a rough life. He came from decent parents and a decent family that moved him away out of that life when he was really young. But unfortunately, he went crawling back. DJ Daniels, just like many other child stars, went down a dark path because of the company they kept, abusing substances, and many of them even had a deep desperation of trying to find normalcy amongst all the glitz and glamour. Because let's face it, Hollywood is a very demonic place filled with a lot of fakeness and predators. And even after seeing the Nickelodeon shit, the behind the scenes and the behind the set, all that stuff, and all these documentaries constantly coming out about Dan Schneider, you truly understand why a lot of these child stars say, F it, I'm not going back to Hollywood, I'm done with it and I'm over it, because it really is a very dark place. You know, you really think that these kids are protected, living it up, playing with slime, doing so well, making so much money that a lot of us even envy them as children. And then you see them now and you think to yourself, oh my God, who fucked you up? A great example of someone who came from a very wealthy family and barely even had to be a child star was someone like Tytyana Miller. If y'all didn't know, Tytyana Miller, who we all know as Master P's eldest daughter, one of his few eldest daughters, she tragically passed away due to a tragic fentanyl overdose. The sad case of Tytyana Miller is another video for a whole other day, but she's a prime example of someone who seemed to have everything, but still felt like she had nothing in the end. I mean, for God's sake, her father's fucking Master P, a rap icon, and he definitely provided a really lit lifestyle for her and all of his kids. But unfortunately, her mental illness, PTSD, and anxiety was still pretty hard to deal with. Mental illness also does not care about financial stability and privilege, and unfortunately, Master P didn't understand that, hence why his daughter pushed him away no matter how much pressure he put on her to be quote-unquote a better and normal person.
Let me talk to Tytyana.
We've been dealing with Tytyana and her situation forever. And this time, it's truly life or death. This is a huge step for her to talk to my father.
You know how many times we've been through this? I tried to help you last time. Oh, now you're telling me you want to move back. You think it's just that easy? Like, this is not fun and games. You know what I'm saying? Like last time, you was with me and we went through this. Remember, I took you to go get the drug test. You lied to me. So I had to get the people to hair test you. I don't want to go through that. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to be here with me, you're going to abide by my rules. You can't mess with none of these friends that you've been hanging out with, you know, because your friends doing drugs.
Yeah.
Doing drugs is horrible. But you know, Dr. Dre's son died in his house. I don't want that to happen to none of my kids. In this house, you're gonna have to do what's right. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Symphonique said that you wanted to go to a rehab. Are you serious about that? Like, I'm not wasting time and money. You serious about changing your life? Nothing wrong with a parent staying on their kid for you want to see them with a better life. Especially with me, I want my kids to have a better life than me. Everybody deserves a second chance. One thing I don't want you to do from this day on is lie to me, right? Don't lie to me about none of this. Don't lie to me about your friends. I care about you. If something happened to you, guess who's gonna be there? Who always there?
My father.
Okay. Man. Wow. That was my dad. His brother just died. People are dying. This man had cancer. Gone just like that. And you throwing your life away. Addictions can kill you. Whitney Houston and her daughter died so young. I gotta get through to her once and for all before it's too late. Do you want something out of life?
I do.
Then I need to see that you want to change. I need to see that you want something out of life. I need to see that you're serious. And if you can't do that, then I'm cutting off everything.
Tytyana Miller, Master P's daughter, made an appearance on the show Growing Up Hip Hop to support her brother and her father Romeo, and basically she went on the show to basically promote their legacy, to promote whatever she had going on, and also they pretty much exploited and used her mental illness and her drug issue as a way to make good television. And honestly, Master P still to this day gets a lot of backlash for this, because even then people were looking at him like he was crazy because of the way he was talking to her. But also, it was really unfortunate because she ended up passing away a few years after that.
Hip-hop mogul Master P is mourning the death of his daughter Tytyana. He posted on Instagram overnight saying, quote, "We appreciate all of the prayers, love, and support. Mental illness and substance abuse is a real issue that we can't be afraid to talk about."
5 months following the 29-year-old's death, the Los Angeles coroner confirmed she died from fentanyl intoxication, confirming reports that she died as a result of drugs.
We put God first. Without that man up above, we wouldn't be here.
And of course, we had to talk about Miss Jaimee Foxworth. I'm pretty sure y'all remember that little girl from Family Matters that was at the height of her career and then out of nowhere she disappeared. Jaimee Foxworth is an American actress and singer who is most notable for her role on Family Matters as Judy Winslow. Jaimee Foxworth spent a portion of her childhood in St. Louis, but her mother noticed that Jaimee and her sisters had a strong calling for entertainment. So she decided to move her entire family to Los Angeles, California to fully help her daughters tap into their full potential. And by the time Jaimee was 8 years old, she was signed to a prestigious agency and starred in several commercials. Jaimee Foxworth was randomly casted as a replacement on the show Family Matters to play Judy Winslow because one of the cast members could no longer fulfill her duties. As we all know, they pulled a reverse My Wife and Kids, and if y'all didn't know, the original Judy Winslow was some little light-skinned girl. Jaimee Foxworth appeared on the series for the first 4 seasons, and she infamously became known as the Winslow child that was sent to her room on punishment, and viewers never saw her again after that episode. However, it became really clear that she was fired. It did become abundantly clear that she was fired when Steve Urkel became a main cast member by season 5. Now, if you guys didn't know, Steve Urkel plays a very big role on why the show stopped being about a middle-class black family and started to basically be centered around him, his love life, and what he had going on. And it was never supposed to be that way. Steve Urkel caught the network's attention, and many viewers loved him in the few episodes he starred in, so the network decided to go in a different direction, and essentially, they fired her. Jaimee and her sisters still pushed to find more work in Hollywood, but due to the constant rejection and her family trying to remain in Los Angeles, Jaimee eventually did go back to school, and she went on to live a normal life in her teen years. However, that was the beginning of the end of her entertainment career. So if you guys didn't know, Jaimee Foxworth and her sisters also started a girl group where basically they sang R&B music, but unfortunately they never really saw any mainstream success. So of course in the late 90s they eventually threw that to rest. So of course Jaimee Foxx had to come up with different ideas. After constant auditioning and constant traveling, trying to find work that she could actually approve of, she eventually turned over to the adult film industry where she became a porn star, and she went under the name Crave. She was upset that she couldn't find any work, and she was upset at the fact that she was in survival mode. She even spoke on her YouTube channel that a big reason why she did a lot of things that she did when she was younger, and again, she never really wanted to talk about her adult industry life back in 2000. And on her YouTube channel, she did discuss exactly why a lot of child stars like her, for example, go downhill and go crazy and completely lose themselves because they're trying to put on an image that they know the world wants to see, but it's not them, and being fake drives you crazy after a while.
And we went somewhere, and you know, I had the usual people that would ask me, hey, can I get a picture and all that. But then there was also the ones that were like, hey, you know, you look familiar. Are you that little girl from? And I'll be like, no. Just because I did not want to be, you know, bothered with that. And, you know, I was 10 years old. I caught an attitude before, but I was just like, I saw all the eyes on me and everybody was like waiting for me to get dunked. So that made me even more nervous and more shy and more like, I want to get up out of here. And, I just went off. I was like, hey, get me out of here. Like, I was crying and all that. And my sisters never seen me like that before. So they were like, girl, chill out. But that was my first case of, you know, being overwhelmed with, you know, so many eyes on me, whatever. I say all that to say because when you're going through that and you're a little kid turning into a teenager, you tend to go places and do things that can help you relieve that. So a lot of these child stars will go, you know, to clubs and they'll party and they may get into drugs and, you know, all that just because they're trying to escape. They're trying to escape that life and they just want to, they want to feel normal in a sense. And then from that, you know, after you take so many drugs, it becomes an addiction. And then from the addiction, you need to, the money that you're making, you got to pay for the addiction. So it's just, you know, it's all of that spirals. A lot of the times these kids are trying to live up to what people think that they're supposed to be or who they're supposed to be. So a lot of these teenagers, they're, you know, spending their money all crazy because they feel like that's how they're supposed to, that's their image, that's how they're supposed to come across.
She went down a very odd path, and unfortunately she hung around a lot of very dark and negative people. Jaimee Foxworth suffered from severe anxiety even as a child because she claims that she's very sensitive to energy and she's always been shy. Jaimee made it abundantly clear that she was never interested in the idea of going back to a regular job. But for those of y'all who don't know, that's the reality for a lot of stars and entertainers. A lot of them have to go back to working regular jobs. A lot of these reality stars y'all see on Love and Hip Hop, on movies, TV shows, when there's no work or there's a season where things are dry or their contract is over, a lot of them have to go back to their bartending jobs. Some of them have to utilize their degrees. Some of them got to, you know, do something strange for some change. And a lot of them have to do what they can to support themselves because a lot of them don't come from rich families that will support them. So a lot of actors have to do what they got to do if work fizzles out. At the time, Jaimee claimed she was intoxicated and feeling pressured by her boyfriend to come up with some cash. During that time, Jaimee claims her self-esteem was just completely to the floor. Jaimee even stated that she remembered feeling ridiculous and degraded after making a porn film, but she never thought anyone would find out, at least not for a few years. Jaimee endured tons of backlash and public scrutiny in the media and responded to a lot of the backlash back then with adult films were her way of trying to be rebellious. She was in a sense trying to make a statement because she grew up in a strict household and with an overprotective mother. In 2008, Jaimee appeared on season 1 of VH1 Celebrity Rehab, where she delved into her addiction and discussed how her reliance on marijuana affected her life, her relationship with her family, and the opportunities she always wanted.
I've changed my life once, so I think it's time for me to change my life again. My decision is to not go into sober living, and I will do outpatient.
Outpatient treatment?
Outpatient treatment.
Excellent.
I want to do outpatient to keep
treatment.
me on track.
Fantastic. Still proud of you.
A few weeks after her appearance on the show, she eventually decided to go on the reunion and she decided to apologize to everybody on TV for her negative actions. And she even went on to say that she did try to stay clean for a while, but she did slightly relapse. Then this was also the era of Paris Hilton, where the media was always on her case, but unfortunately compared to Paris Hilton and Jaimee Foxworth, Paris Hilton was glorified for it. Jaimee made it very clear that after she got pregnant, she promised God during prayer that if she had a healthy son, that she would completely change her life and completely turn things around.
Is 2 months old. How are you going to be able to smoke weed and occasionally drink and still be able to function day to day and make bottles and give them nap time and baths and all that? I made a prayer to God and I was like, if you just give me the healthiest son, I will stop today, and I stopped.
Now, Jaimee Foxworth hasn't really done anything since, and she clearly isn't really working, but she is a stay-at-home mom, and she now currently runs a YouTube channel with her sisters, and she has her own personal YouTube channel where she talks about her life as an actress, where she's going in life, and she vlogs her daily life.
I've been saying this for years. I think that there should be some sort of organization for child stars, and it might sound crazy, but come on, it's a lot of them that have went downhill. And I think that there should be somewhere a therapy group that they can go to, so, you know, but with people that they can relate to. So I think that this should have been done years ago, before my time, like when there was Happy Days and all that. I think certain people from different shows that can relate to that, they should all come together, do an organization, and usher these people in to let them know, hey, this is what I did when times are bad. This is how you can get out of it. This is how you build up your self-esteem. Whatever it is, I've always thought that there should be an organization like that.
Then we have Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman, as we all know, was the shit back in the 1970s for his role in the hit series Different Strokes. Gary Coleman was literally everywhere at one point. Commercials, food commercials, cameos in TV shows. He was the, wisecracking, humorous little boy with a distinct demeanor that gave him an edge. But sadly, Gary Coleman, for those of y'all who didn't know, even though he was a lit-ass actor back then, and most of us could even look at him as a legend, Gary Coleman lived a very hard life because he suffered with a lot of severe health issues since the day he was born. Gary Coleman was born with a defective bladder, which ultimately damaged his right kidney. Gary sadly underwent his first kidney transplant at 5 years old, and that kidney lasted about 9 years.
Hi, I'm Gary Coleman, Gift of Life Chairman from the National Kidney Foundation, and I'd like to tell you about a kid from Zion, Illinois. When he was 5 years old, his kidneys failed, but he's alive and well today because he had a kidney transplant. That's why he wants you to give generously to your kidney foundation. You'll help support research into the causes and cures of kidney disease, a major killer in America. I know, because I'm that kid.
He had to get another kidney transplant by the time he was like 16 years old. And it sadly even led to his growth being stunted, which prevented him from growing past 4'8". His parents, who, if y'all didn't know, adopted him when he was like 1 year old, were not the best parents to him. They essentially used him as a cash cow because Gary Coleman blew up overnight. He was incredibly successful and he was a big deal. But what was sad is his parents sadly kind of used him as a show business baby. Kind of similar to the relationship Michael Jackson had with his parents. They didn't let him have a regular childhood. So because he didn't have a regular childhood, he didn't really know what it was like to connect with people who didn't want anything from him. His cast member and longtime friend Todd Bridges even stated in interviews that while Gary was having health issues on set, his parents would still force him and pressure him to finish his obligations and still get work done.
Could you imagine being in his position and being a sick kid, not feeling well, and your parents are forcing you to work?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember seeing him. There was a day when I was like 13 years old, and this is when he was rejecting a kidney again, and they actually had this boy on the set working. He was throwing up, deathly ill. It looked like he was death-warmed over, and I started crying because I couldn't believe his parents were forcing him to work. And, you know, because there was one time when I was sick, I had like 102 temperature, and my mom took me home and said, "You're not working today." And the actual studio called and told my mom if she didn't get me back to the set, I was going to be fired.
And many people on the set were very disheartened, but never said anything. But unfortunately, as the 80s started to come to an end, Gary Coleman struggled to find substantial and lucrative work that could support him in the lifestyle that he was accustomed to. Now, must I remind y'all, Gary Coleman was literally making damn near $70,000 an episode. So he was doing really well and eating very nice. Gary Coleman should have had approximately $18 million in his trust fund by the time he was at least 17 years old. However, when Gary Coleman, right before his 18th birthday, decided to figure out how much money he had to rely on, Gary Coleman found out that his parents and accountants had essentially robbed him of his trust fund in order to pay for their fancy vacation, and they even had many failed investments. Now, his dusty-ass parents did address it, and they did address the fact that they squandered his wealth, and when they were grilled about it in an interview several years later, this is basically what they did to gaslight the situation.
After all, like I said, when Gary turned 18 years old, we was, you know how you do a horse? We were put out of the pasture, okay? And so Gary took on a whole new branch of individuals that wanted to manage his career and also manage his money. So like I said before, what we, as the final figure, we turn over to him. What happened then, I don't know, but for us the case, you know, that we put some in laws, you know what that was all about? Yeah, I explained to you. That was about a balloon, you know, a bond that we had set aside in case Gary had a guy kidnapped. You know, okay, that's how that all come about. We had nothing to, you know, to give up. We had nothing, you know. We left California. Everything we had, like for instance, our pension plan that we had accumulated by working for Gary, you know, everything. I even had to sell my Abbott stock, which was 7,000 shares, and also my Baxter stock, which was 3,000 shares, in order to try to maintain and keep afloat.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I'm just wondering why you didn't go on television to defend yourselves, because people were throwing a lot of bad accusations. You heard Todd Bridges, and the conventional wisdom for many years was that he was estranged from his parents because they stole his money, they mismanaged his money. And no one ever heard from you.
You know, we didn't really have anything to defend ourselves from. We did not take anything from Gary, and he knew that, and we didn't need to go on television and say, you know, we didn't or we did.
And sadly, Gary's dusty-ass parents unfortunately left him with $200,000 in his trust fund, and he famously sued them in the year 1989, but he only got like $1 million. He had to find a way to stretch that for as much as he could because he did have court and attorney expenses to pay off because of his parents refusing to give him more money. Gary Coleman also had to file for bankruptcy in the 90s because his taxes and expenses became all too much to handle. Having health issues, having your mental health in shambles, and having the fact that the whole world is in your business and in your family feud, That made Gary Coleman hate fame, and Gary Coleman has said on numerous occasions that he hated being a celebrity, that he did not want to be famous, and he wished he could do things differently by not being famous at all.
Interview last night, you said if you could do it over, you would not want to be a child star.
No, I don't think I would do that. I'd still be in Zion, Illinois. I'd probably be working at Kmart or Wendy's.
No, are you serious?
Oh, I love Zion. I miss
Zion.
Zion.
But why wouldn't you wouldn't want to do this again? Be on TV like that again?
If I could do it again, I'd do it very differently and hopefully a whole lot better. If someone had told me that my life would have been like this early enough where I could have got out, I would have got out. I'd say, no, I want to go and have a normal life and have friends.
Would have said, the hell with the show business career
yeah,
and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a half kid because I still think about that. That's something that I fantasize about because now here we are in 1993. I'm 25 years old. I'm a world-renowned celebrity. There's no place I can go where no one doesn't know me.
And because Gary Coleman was broke, struggling, and didn't have much money, he was silent about it for a very long time. The 90s and the 2000s was the era where we saw Gary Coleman doing so many ridiculous commercials, where 1 minute he was in a bug commercial, the next minute he was in a random food commercial, the next minute he was doing insurance commercials.
I love you, Cash Call. Cash wired right in my account. No one would lend me any money, not even my relatives. So if you need cash, call 877-860-CASH.
And financial investment commercials and so much more just to support himself. And by the time he was in his early 30s, Gary Coleman was severely broke, to the point where he had to take on a job at Blockbuster, and he even worked as a security guard in Los Angeles. No matter how much he tried to be normal, it seemed like everybody saw him as a dollar sign or as that kid on a TV show. There was just nothing Gary Coleman could realistically do to get a normal life, and he hated his parents for it, which ultimately led to him cutting them off. And he never spoke to them ever again. Gary Coleman, as we all know, was always thrown in the media, was always talked about in the media, not just for his acting roles, but also for a lot of his bad behavior that was really bad for his image. Now, as his health started to deteriorate and as his skin started to deteriorate, he even had moments where he had a tendency to be very violent towards people, which didn't help anymore from the aspect of him not getting any work.
This police mugshot of actor Gary Coleman gives a far different image of the once lovable pint-sized child star. Police in Utah arrested the 41-year-old when he failed to appear in court on a warrant. He was booked into jail Sunday. Jail records show he was arrested after police received reports of a disturbance at his home about 65 miles south of Salt Lake City. In a separate case, Coleman was arrested in 2008 after a man claimed Coleman tried to run him over in a parking lot when he tried to take a picture with him. Coleman pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct and was ordered to pay a $100 fine. The actor has made a number of cameo appearances in recent years and even ran for governor of California, but has never regained the success of his early TV work.
He was rude to people on set, he was rude to fans that asked for pictures, and he was rude to people who asked for autographs. And it was all because he was struggling financially. And anyone watching this that has ever struggled financially knows how badly that can affect your mental health and how you view people. One of Gary's most infamous scandals was back in 1998. Gary Coleman was charged and investigated for assault and battery for literally punching a female fan in the face after she asked for an autograph. Now, essentially, a woman inside of a store he worked at and was doing security for asked Gary Coleman for an autograph, and he agreed with an attitude back in 1998.
Did Mr. Coleman have a response when Ms. Fields asked for the autograph?
He had a long sigh, and he walked over and signed the piece of paper that she had.
Do you remember what he signed?
Just his name.
After signing this autograph, what did Mr. Coleman do?
He walked back to his original place.
Was there any further discussion between Ms. Fields and Mr. Coleman?
Yes, she asked if he was going to write something additional on the autograph.
What did Mr. Coleman do at that point?
He walked over and picked up the autograph and tore it up and threw it in the trash.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. And do you recall what did Ms. Fields respond?
She said, "Why would you say that?"
And did he respond?
He said, "All you want to do is show it off to your friends."
Did she have a response for that?
She said, "No, I want to get." No, he made a statement, the next statement.
What was his statement?
He said something to the degree that he wasn't acting anymore. He wasn't an adult actor. And then she said something because of his attitude, his demeanor on how he was going about doing this. She said something to the fact that And that's the reason why he's not a successful adult actor.
Did Mr. Coleman make any actions?
Yes, he made a statement. He said, "Fuck you, lady. That's why I don't like people like you."
Okay. What did he do at that point?
Then he hurriedly walked, almost like a trot, ran over to her area where she was standing and jumped up and socked her in the face.
The entire situation was very bad press for Gary Coleman, and a lot of people didn't want to take a chance working with him because of his bad attitude. He served a suspended sentencing, which means he still had to do his time even out of jail, had a probation officer, and he even paid for the woman's medical bill. Gary Coleman was just making things more difficult for himself as time went on, and it was all because he was simply miserable. Gary underwent more stress after he married his wife, Shannon Price, whom we all know might have been a reason why Gary Coleman died. Now, most of you guys know that Gary Coleman died in a very vulnerable state. He had a lot of kidney issues, he had a lot of illnesses, and he had underwent so many seizures. Now, if y'all don't know anything about Shannon Price was a woman that he met on a movie set one year back in the mid-2000s. And essentially, he met her, he had a crush on her, eventually it turned into a committed relationship, and they eventually got married 2 years later. And of course, this woman made his life a living hell. She was incredibly toxic, she was overbearing. Now, even though Gary Coleman was overbearing too, as you can see in this clip.
You know what? If people would want to believe that I assault my wife at 4'7" and she's 5'6", then they can believe that all day long. I don't care.
Well, why don't you flat out deny it then, right here? Because otherwise everyone's going to look at this and say he's waffling around and he probably did it.
I don't waffle. There is no abuse that goes on in my house. I don't waffle. Now, if people believe that I'm waffling, then they can go do what they need to do.
Did you abuse your wife? Did you abuse her? Did you lay your hand on her?
And you know what? You can go the same place.
Did you lay your hands on your wife, Gary Coleman? Because she says you did.
Drown yourself in the ocean.
She says you did.
You know what? I have this on my head because I fell down the stairs. I don't want people thinking that my wife is abusing me.
Why don't you want to answer the question about whether you abused your wife and everything else? Pardon me?
You can go yourself.
Really?
And quit asking me.
Is that the way you talk to your wife?
Yeah, if I have to, if I need to, but I don't. And I don't know you, and I don't care about you.
And is this the kind of anger that leads to your physical assault?
Doesn't matter to me.
Let me tell you
so
what, my life doesn't matter to you.
Hold on. Or get hit by a bus tonight. I'm not gonna care because she's pushing my buttons, and I don't like her now. And the next thing I'm gonna do is leave. So all of you.
Gary, come back.
No. You.
Now, Gary Coleman, as we all know, passed away in 2010, and of course, he famously left his ex-wife and his parents nothing. He didn't leave anybody shit. Apparently, he wrote his ex-wife out of the will because he didn't trust her at all and he did not like her. But then there was a whole scandal in court after he passed away back in 2010, where basically, she was trying to fight for his estate. Now, what's unfortunate is a lot of people immediately started side-eyeing her when she started fighting for his estate because, again, there were several scandals of him abusing her and her abusing him, and so many instances where the police would get called. So people were so confused as to why she wanted his estate and why, even though he divorced her, she was still living with him. What's even more confusing is the day Gary Coleman died, she claims that Gary Coleman was trying to make her pizza rolls and he passed away because he had a seizure after he fell down the stairs.
He was like, it's fine, I can totally go down there. And at the time, I was actually diagnosed with an inner ear problem. As he went down there, I had just a bad feeling. He wasn't feeling well, and I was like, are you sure that you feel good enough to go down there and make, those put those pizza rolls in the microwave? And he said, yeah, I'm fine. And he got halfway downstairs and was like, are you sure you can come back up? I know that you don't feel well. You just had dialysis. It was a Wednesday. And so he had gone downstairs and I was in bed, just laying there, feeling miserable, feeling awful, feeling just helpless, like I couldn't do anything for myself. And that's the worst feeling that anyone could go through. And then all of a sudden I just hear this. It sounded like pots and pans had just fallen. Like he just got them from the stove or whatever and they just fell. And what I did is I said Gary 3 times and he didn't answer me. And that's when I knew something was completely wrong. I jumped out of bed, went downstairs, and he was lying there in a pool of blood. I can't tell you if he had a seizure. I can't tell you if he passed out. I don't exactly know what happened. And from then on, I felt super helpless. I cried. And that's when the 911 call came into play. And by that time, Gary was actually sitting up. And what a lot of people don't know or are aware of is that Gary was lucid enough to walk to the ambulance. He walked to the ambulance himself.
Now, obviously he fell down the stairs, so it makes sense why it made his health issues even worse because he was already so fragile. But what makes things even worse is people side-eyed Shannon Price because it's very interesting how right after Gary Coleman gets admitted to the hospital, because mind you, Gary Coleman did survive the fall down the stairs. So his ex-wife Shannon, the day Gary Coleman fell down the stairs and then eventually perished and was in the hospital bed on his damn near, last breaths, she went on to do an interview with ABC. The day he was in his hospital bed, literally left his bedside to do an interview.
Overnight, I spoke with Gary Coleman's ex-wife, Shannon Price. She was at Gary Coleman's bedside when the actor passed away. And as you're about to see in this interview, she is still clearly fragile. She arrived in a wheelchair looking very frail, and she stayed in that chair throughout the entire interview, even having to take a break when she thought she might be having a seizure.
I've had a lot of health issues in the last 2 months. As you guys know, I recently have seizures, and I've had a lot of anxiety. I really miss my husband a lot, and I can barely get around, and I mean, it's been a trial.
But what's odd about her interview, after she did her interview, we then find out that Gary Coleman ended up not making it.
And so, with that being said as well, what my dad and I had gone there that afternoon, and he was already gone.
Which then led to a lot of conspiracy theories leading that maybe she pulled the plug on him. But according to her, she came back to the hospital and he didn't make it. But what's ironic and really weird is she literally got a lot of photos of herself and Gary while he was in the hospital bed on his last breath. And some way, somehow, the media got a hold of it. So his ex-wife Shannon not only left him on his bedside to do an interview, she quickly came back when he was on his last breath and when she saw that he passed away, and she took photos of herself with him on his deathbed. On top of that, her manager asked her to literally take photos, save them, and she licensed them and monetized it.
They both had poor health. And so,
but who's selling the photos? That's what I'm saying. I know people have dirty houses. If they're sick, they can't clean them, but who's selling them? Who else would have access to that house aside from Shannon?
Well, I can tell you this. The photos on the deathbed were taken by a family member, and Shannon, she would like to deal with that privately. The walkthrough of the house was basically they wanted to see the trains. They wanted to see Gary's trains.
What about the interview? Wasn't Sheila in the interview? Sheila was there when she shot the interview. I have a photo of you there with Shannon. You're telling me she didn't profit off the interview?
Shannon, she sold some photos.
The next morning?
They licensed some photos. Shannon, she sold some photos.
The next morning?
They licensed some photos, but she never made any money off of the interview. They licensed photos, that was it.
But that's what they say in show business. They never sell the interview. They always just they buy the photos. It's the same thing.
But I want to clear something up.
Okay.
The photos on the deathbed, Shannon had no part of.
Who was advising Shannon to let cameras into the house, to film the blood on the floor, to do an interview 12 hours after Gary died, to sell photographs and images of his dying last minutes, posing with his dead body? I don't understand that. And Sheila, if you were with Shannon, the inappropriate behavior, if you were there, who was advising her to do this kind of stuff if she's not that bad of a person? If she loved Gary and was still with him even though she was divorced?
Okay,
I'd love to
answer.
Okay,
Yes.
All right. Shannon did not sell pictures on the deathbed, okay? Shannon did an interview the day afterwards. Let me tell you this, it took her 3 hours to get in the front room to even do the interview. She was so sick and throwing up in bed. She did the interview just simply because she wanted everybody to know what was going on. She didn't want to take 500 interviews.
She was selling it.
No, she sold some.
You know what?
She
That's
licensed some
absolute
pictures.
baloney.
Well, let me finish
Okay.
now. Okay, you got Shannon.
We're
Gary
almost
left her
out of
with
time.
Okay, Gary left her with no money. Okay. And
What do you mean?
know-
She spent Gary's money. What are you talking about? Gary's financial health was coming back. They come together, and she
Gary's-
blows it all.
You know,
All right,
you
well,
should have
guess
seen
what?
how
We're
much
out of
Gary
time.
loved her.
So it really shows that she really was vindictive. And mind you, Gary Coleman was in a very low vibrational, low state in his life. So of course, he didn't really have the best judgment, and he didn't really have anybody. He didn't really have any decent friends around him. He didn't really have anyone there to really support him like that. He was just a miserable old man in his early 40s who was just mad at the world. But it really goes to show you that life can happen to anybody. You could be doing so well right now at your job and making so much money right now at your job, and then they wake up one day and decide to lay you off. Or you wake up one day and you realize that business is starting to move real slow, but you still want to maintain your luxury lifestyle, and you don't have anyone you can really count on or rely on because a lot of these people are happy to see you fail, or no one really cares to do anything for you unless they get some type of benefit from it. It makes sense. And it really just goes to show you that fame really is not for everybody, because you become a dollar sign to most people, especially when they already know what you have to offer before you even open your mouth. Life really be lifing, because you really never know. One minute you think it's not you, and the next minute it is you. You really just never know where your life will go in the next 10 or 20 years. So please keep positive and good and reassuring people around you and positive vibes around you, because the first start of any illness, or the thing that makes illnesses much worse, is stress. But that's all I gotta say on that. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Give your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought about these child stars that I listed and named. And overall, just give your thoughts and let me know what you think and who I forgot to mention and who you guys want to see in part 2. That's that for this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's that. Troyce out this bitch.
You will always be, I say, fire to the rain, watch it burn, I run away, in this turn, and I say, fire to the rain, watch it burn, I set fire to the rain. That's all y'all get for free, and I don't even know the lyrics. Y'all have a good one.